Hey everybody, Radamon here. Thanks for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included. So last episode, we managed to get almost enough, just so close, almost enough advanced research, this interstellar research, in order to push hydrocarbon combustion. I thought I would have to figure out how to do a solid fuel mission, but as Crash M pointed out, I can go back to a planet and do little bits of research, enough to kick myself past this petroleum engine point. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another launch back to somewhere I've already been and get that beautiful amount of research that I'm missing, the like fractional less than 1, to be completed. So to go over some other tips I got, let's see. Pup Kalai's mentioned it might be a wise idea to have a thermal shutoff here to the point where when this hydrogen in this refinery gets too hot, it will cut power to the metal refinery. So that's not a bad idea. What that would look like is something like, well, let's see. Automation, we would do a thermo sensor in here. And the thermo sensor would then just be wired up to, with automation wire, probably, what am I using in here? Lead? Iron. Oh, iron and then, okay, I guess it's just all iron. Interesting. I'll just use copper because it's cheaper enough. And just run a thermo sensor to the metal refinery in order to control it. Now, another thing I wanted to point out is the geysers, the hydrogen vent geysers, are starting to erupt again. So I'm going to change their pressure higher so that the Weezeworts don't get overwhelmed by the temperature shock of the temperature differences. Another thing I'm starting to notice is that the fungal spores, my mushroom farm, is starting to get overheated. So what I'm going to do is repurpose some of these Weezeworts in here and put them to use in the mushroom farm, at least temporarily, to fix that problem. All right. So up here, we are just going to pick somewhere we've already been, and I'm going to use the calculator, the Ani Assistant Rocket Calculator, to calculate the steam. It should be 695, I believe. Yes. So at 695, we will fill this up. Now, there would be a way for me to set a automatic shutoff. So if I wanted to do that, let's say I wanted to do that, what I could do is have like a gas element sensor, gas pipe element sensor here or something like that, right? Where as soon as, I'll demo it, right? I'm not going to fully build it because I don't really need it. But let's say I had a gas demo sensor here, or element sensor, or a pipe sensor or something. Some sort of sensor to detect when the steam flows past this point. And that could act as a shutoff. Again, I'm not going to set that up because I don't really need to. I have enough steam that I don't really care. But, you know, that's always an idea if you want to automate your system. Another thing I wanted to do is this gas shutoff here. I built it out of lead. A lead gas shutoff is going to inevitably overheat. And as a result, I might as well replace it with something that is a little bit more hardy. And then another thing I also wanted to do is, as I am going towards petroleum as a propulsion material, one of the issues with that is all of the plastic ladders that I have over here are inevitably going to overheat. You know, I'm not going to even do metal. So what I'm going to do here instead is set it up with insulated tiles so that we don't melt this into naphtha. I don't really want a bunch of naphtha ladders. That doesn't sound good to me. So, although it's going to be a lot of labor, I will be replacing everything. I'm also going to need to be adding in gantries here eventually, but that can wait a little bit. So all of those new construction projects I will have as 8. Now steam hasn't been superheating up my plastic ladders, but as soon as, like I said, as soon as I have another ignition source or fuel source or whatever you want to call it, it's going to start cooking the surrounding area. In fact, it would cook here as well. Yeah. So we'll get this all to be, you know, very well set up for temperature. Now, another thing that I'm going to want to do is my next ignition source will be a petroleum rocket, which uses oxidizer. So I have to figure out exactly how I want to fuel that. I haven't really thought about that yet, but that's something I'm going to have to think about as well. Okay, my petroleum is not quite cool enough to go through as coolant. But another thing I'm going to do, so my kcals have been dropping a little bit. I'm going to put these corners to 9 where the Weesport's going to go. And then everything else back to 4 so that we can start to cool down. Because if this carbon dioxide area gets too hot, all of my potential food growth goes to hell, and I don't want that. That would be bad. I do in fact want to eat, and then I'm gonna move the electric grill over to number 4 as well, and start making barbecue because I think I had a lot of raw meat that I wasn't cooking, so I might as well get that cooked up. Alright, checking in on this. Yeah, we're nowhere close to the amount of steam that we need yet, so that will be a minute. And that allows us to replace a lot of this ladder with igneous ladders, which will not overheat, not melt to naphtha, etc., etc., etc. So thinking about the temperature problems that we've been having, one of the issues that we always have is this stupid amount of hydrogen that always like kills off or deactivates our Weesports. So that's something I want to avoid because this geyser is now active, but we should be okay. And then the thermal shutoff here, let's get that set up as well. So I'm not really sure what temperature. Well, let's see. The body temperature that disables the Weesports is, let's say, 203 Fahrenheit, or just shy of boiling. But I'm probably going to want the thermal sensor to turn off well before that. I also have a thermal sensor for the floor. So this is like the floor thermal sensor, which is like, hey, we have too much cooling, which I don't think is going to be an issue if I'm doing a lot of refining. So, you know, in programming, it would be called like floor and ceiling. That's why I'm using that term. It's not literally the floor or ceiling. It's just, yeah. Hope that makes sense to you. Alright, so this petroleum is still too hot. Now, one of the things I might want to do is if things are getting cooked up here, which these auto sweepers are hot, but they're not critical yet. If I ever need to send coolant through, I can always do that in a pinch. So it looks like a lot of the ladders have been replaced, and I'm just going to allow my dupes to replace the rest of them before I sweep up all the plastics. Before I forget, oh, we still haven't destroyed this lead shutoff. So the problem with this lead shutoff is the overheat temperature is only 55 C, and the temperature of the gas that's coming through is 65 C. So as you can imagine, it would immediately become a problem where the gas shutoff that we have set up would melt. So I'll replace it with a copper one or any other material other than what we were using, and it should be just fine. Okay, the fungal farm is looking good. It's no longer going to overheat. Something else that has been on its way to overheating is this glossy Dreco farm, and I don't want it to overheat. Do we still have a Weezewort seed? Yeah, we have 2. Good. Because it would not be ideal for that to overheat either. Let's see. Martin mentioned that the virtual planetarium might benefit from some light, like a ceiling light. If I set up a ceiling light, well, let's do that. I'm going to have, what was this, granite? Sedimentary? No. Let's do granite. And then the closest power, woof. Okay, fine. Is a heavy watt line, or a conductive wire line, but I'll make it out of lead, so it's not that expensive. So keeping the virtual planetarium lit will help us do the virtual planetarium research faster. There was also some like mini projects that I wanted to work on potentially, which is to have an ethanol distillery or to turn lumber into ethanol. Ethanol would be a good power source in a pinch. Alright, so now that I've replaced all of the floors that I have, and ladders and all that with away from plastics, I need to sweep up those plastics because if I don't, the plastics are still at risk of melting when this thing blasts off. And we're still loading it up with steam, so it's going to be a minute. So, filtered output natural gas. And this is saying if above 500. Good. That looks right. And all the way down here, we are... let's get this built. So this, I think, is dormant. Yes, next activity is 29 cycles. Oh, so if that's the case, you know what? I'm going to put this back to 7s. It's not all that urgent that this gets tapped. But if above 500, we will pump. All right. So this is the new natural gas geyser that I tapped, just to make sure that I have enough power, you know, because I didn't want any sort of power shortage or anything like that. The rocket should be pretty close to being fueled up. Yeah, it's getting there. And then we'll launch this little mission. I would like to move all the plastic out of the way first. But that's getting pretty close. I'm also going to need to figure out exactly how I want to power on the next rocket, the petroleum rockets. And what kind of fuel I'll use, etc., etc. Okay, there we go. Now we're really moving plastics. There we go. Ooh, you're carrying a whole lot of plastic. Okay, I think all the plastic has been removed, which is perfect timing because we are just about all steamed up. So let's set this up to a unreasonably high temperature to turn it off. The rest of the steam will flow out. It's fine. I don't care if it escapes. And then sine curve will be assigned, and this rocket here will be heading back to somewhere I've already gone, just so I get a little bit of extra data for the interstellar research. I don't need too much more. Alright, glossy Drecos. Okay, so this Weezewort's already starting to help bring down the body temperature. One of the issues here is it's very, very hot right outside here. Due to the electrolyzed oxygen and the radiant gas pipes. So it's going to be important for me to consider the cooling that area too. So if the temperature is below, let's say, 150 Fahrenheit, green signal. And this is the thermal shutoff to make sure that... oh, this really didn't need to be steel, but whatever. This is thermal shutoff to make sure that our hydrogen environment doesn't get so hot. So let's just experiment. And if below... Okay, yeah, it works. I just set the temperature abnormally low. So let's say if below 175. Seems fine. I just don't want it to disable the Wheezeworts. To get so hot. And then what I might also do is dig up these 3 here and put them back to where the oxygen radiant pipes are. All right, so we are all set to launch. Oh, you know what? No, we're not. No, we're not. There is some asteroid strikes, meteorite strikes happening. So I'm going to have sine curve go home and close the bunker steel doors so that we don't get struck. I should have looked over here to see that these doors were closed because our space sensors are detecting strikes. Okay. Another thing is we are still doing the giant monument. So what's going to be important is to be constantly delivering those resources. This is a goal of the entire series. And I know that the volcano taming has taken a backseat to it, partially because I just don't need the volcanoes to be tamed. It's not really all that necessary. I have plenty of gold. I would like to demonstrate it, and I do plan on demonstrating it. I just plan on tackling other projects first. Things that are a little bit more important to this series, or at least, as I observe them to be more important. Okay, we need to dig ourselves out and then haul that material away. We are having circulated coolant now, which is good. Our coolant, our petroleum line has, or the aqua tuner, I should say, has worked properly. Okay, the strikes are over. So mine this out, sweep it up. Okay. And then we will be good to go. It's almost the end of the day, so likely not today, but soon, I hope. Next activity in just literally seconds. Perfect. So our hydrogen supply is going to come back if the next activity is so soon. I'm going to be removing the glossy egg here because I do believe our glossy... Oh, critter 6? No, never mind. Let me put that back for now. I thought we were closer to being full. My mistake. I should have checked first. Okay, so we're all swept up. Sine curve is going to be loaded into the rocket, and this is just to get the research that I need for petroleum-based thrust. Which is a bit overdue. Okay, pull the gantry back. And launch. So when you return to a place that you have fully researched, you won't get a lot of research. You still might get an artifact or something like that. But if you only have research modules and not cargo bays or something like that, it is of less benefit. But given that I'm only one or less than one research away from hitting some sort of milestone, it's worth it to me to head on back and unlock petroleum. Because I happen to have a ton of petroleum. Alright, I'm I'm going to start doing what I can to deodorize. So that we stop having polluted oxygen that can, you know, harbor slime lung. So if I take a look at where my polluted oxygen is, some of it is really hard to get to and might not be worth deodorizing. Some of it I can just wall off like this and just ignore because it's going to be on the other side of a wall and not mix with, you know, the regular amounts of air that I have. And some of it will need, you know, platforms like this. Because, you know, you can't have them float. There. Just trying to clean up space a little bit so that there is not the possibility of germs. So if I go on the hunt for germs right now, we do have germs over here, and this just needs a buddy bud. So that's pretty straightforward. It's going to get delivered eventually. Down here, it's real nasty and probably needs a buddy bud as well. There is one up here, I guess, but that just means we need more deodorization. Hey, I don't believe you belong out there. How's my regular... Yeah, only 3 critters? Yeah, we'll bring regular Drecklets back. And there we have the midsection. I'm going to have the midsection hold a giant wrench. I'll actually probably move this light over a bit so that it doesn't intersect with the monument. And that means that all we have left is the monument's head, which means that we need only 1,000 more steel, which is actually very, very obtainable, as we are currently cranking it out now. So let's go ahead and make that look nice. Now, as far as the star map goes, it is still a typical 2.7 cycle, but we're really not doing any research because we already have all the research done, but the trip itself will yield some research anyway, which I suppose is good? I don't know, you tell me. It will at least allow us to get the petroleum that we want to get. Okay, it looks like we're starting to get the deodorizers that I had queued up installed, and that's going to remove some of the slime lung that endangers our dupes. And another thing that I'm going to need to do is to... I am dramatically running out of lime, sources of lime. Now, there are ways for me to figure out how to get more lime. Like, I'll give you, for instance, I could always... I could always start doing pokey shell farming again. But one of my hesitations about that is there's really, you know, much to maybe your guys' sadness. There's really only so many episodes left of this series, full stop and period, right? So I don't really need to worry about too much renewable resource of lime. All I really need to worry about is, like, mining out all that's available to me, and that should be enough to get my steel up to where it needs to be in order to like, quote-unquote, beat the scenario that I've laid out for myself. So you'll see all these like little mining tunnels and ladders and stuff like that, and that's so that every single fossil that I have access to gets tapped for its resources. Another thing to mention is, although it is nice to get every fossil, you have to make sure not to get too close to magma, because the heat of this magma can really wreak havoc. So for instance, there's a lot of fossils here, but the trouble with those fossils are they are right in the midst of a whole lot of magma. So when I go down there, I'm going to have to be very cautious about how close I get to the magma and what I allow to touch the magma, because the abyssalite's going to protect me a lot, but not in all locations might I have abyssalite. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, so if I wanted to mine up obsidian, I'd have to go through the abyssalite, and I'd be sort of dangerous. But I think I actually do have abyssalite everywhere I need it, which is convenient. Alright, star map. We still have 1 day left before the ship comes back. Our natural gas and hydrogen quantities are going up. We are, you know, we're, I guess, in a way, recovering. All right, that will look a little bit nicer. And once we get just a little bit more steel, we will be all set. All right, all of those Weezeworts were plucked to put them back here. Let's take a look at the dust cap farm. So the dust cap farm has dropped in temperature considerably to the point where it's not at risk of losing it as a food source, which is good. And this area here, yeah, so this area here, the slime is constantly trying to outgas slime lung, it seems. It won't work once this oxygen is pure, because pure oxygen, not polluted oxygen, isn't able to become slimed permanently. It will slowly kill off the slime over time. But I'm still going to go to lengths to make that pure oxygen. All right. So I think these strikes are over. All of my robo-miners are doing the big old dig out, but they are getting coolant, which is good, so they won't overheat. And then what we're going to need to do is just to dig up our re-entry point so the rocket can land, which is landing in half a cycle. So a little time sensitive, just a little. Come on. Let's go. I think it's nighttime and everyone's sleeping, but I hope that I have someone get out there soon. So the natural gas and hydrogen is going back up to the point where I'll probably be able to re-enable these hydrogen generators and rely more on hydrogen now that the geysers are active. I just have to keep an eye on the temperature of the hydrogen here because, as you can see here, it is... let's do 4,900. It is, it's very hot and going up and up and up. And once it gets too hot, the Weezeworts deactivate. So I want to avoid that scenario. Here, with 4 Weezeworts, I think that's enough to counteract the pressure, the temperature. But the 2 Weezeworts down below, they're struggling. So I'm modifying the temperature. So at this point, let's sweep this and open the bunker doors now, even if it drops this material. But because I removed all of the plastics from around here, the debris... Oh. I did not time that very well. So here you'll see there is 50 databanks and a little bit of tech that I can put on a pedestal. But what's a bummer is, and I guess this is a good way to demonstrate how careful you need to be. What's a bummer is, you know how close I was getting to having the monument top steel? Now I am going down thousands of steel, or 8,000 steel I should say, because I did not open my gates in time. I was not attentive enough. So, oh well, I mean... You know, this happens. One thing I'm going to do is, because it's cheap, I am going to fire up another research module rocket before I actually push towards petroleum, just to get a little bit more research to see if I can't get solid cargo fully researched as well. Alright, so here we are rebuilding the bunker doors, and I'm going to switch them off so they actually stay closed. And this tech here is plus 20 decor, 3 tiles. So mimicking what we did in the other ranch, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have this pedestal, I'll just copy it, paste it. And we got the new research. So with this new research, let's go over to to get ourselves some solid cargo. And are you benefiting from the light? Sine curve. How do I, let's see, research, or rather, where's sine curve? Alright, do you have lit environment? Yeah, lit workspace. Okay, so the light is speeding it up by 15%. Good. That's exactly what I was hoping. Alright, down here, here's the pedestal, and we'll put on the tech. And that should just, yeah, make the ranches a little bit nicer. Okay, we are getting very, very, very close to our maximum comfortable temperature up here. What I'm going to do is set this to like 6,000, meaning that we're not actually going to be tapping this hydrogen at all. To allow the Weezeworts to maybe try to cool it down some more. What I might have to do is to put 2 more Weezeworts in here to offset that heat. Almost certainly. So let's take a look. How can we do that elegantly? I think what you need to do is remove this storage bin and move the auto sweeper a little bit as well. So I'll destroy all of that. Sadly, but I think it's necessary. I think it's something that we need to do for long-term purposes. So these geysers are hot. Alright, so the amount, so the new engine here, the new petroleum engine, burns petroleum and oxidizer. So then I also have a liquid fuel tank and a liquid oxidizer tank. So this oxidizer tank stores oxalate, and the liquid tank stores liquid fuel as a, you know, propellant. And as far as the fuel goes, you know, I obviously have a ton of petroleum, so that is no issue. But I'm still going to do one more steam-powered journey to try to get solid cargo. I would very much like solid cargo. Alright, so now that this is gone, I'm going to have another gold amalgam door, and then another... This actually has to go one lower, which is fine. Because the plan I have is... the sweeper will go here. So up here, this gas pump, I'm going to switch over to a mini pump. So that it saves room. So let's do that. Ventilation, mini pump. Oops. I'm going to put the mini pump here. All right, and then we'll have a mechanized airlock a little lower. And this will be powered on very much the same way everything else is. Let's have this as 9. I just want it built and done. Then for shipping, we'll have the auto sweeper here. We can make this out of copper or something. It doesn't need to be steel. And then I'll have to have a, like, somewhere to support a bin of phosphorite. So if we take a look at the AI here, or the automation rather, what was this? Was gold amalgam lines? Okay, let's do. What are these automation wires? Oh, they're lead. Okay, let's do lead automation wires because that should be fine. This line here needs to jump now over. Ooh, this is going to get a little messy. So this line here, this automation wire, is going to come down and in. And then this one is going to bridge like this and then connect. So it's going to turn into like a kind of a messy wiring situation. I could probably clean it up, but as long as it works and you guys understand it, I guess it's fine. Alright, so this here should wire like that, and then this... Oh, we broke the AND gate or something. And then the mini pump seems to be overheating. Let me see how it was set up over here. So this is an AND gate. It includes the output capacity, and it includes the atmos sensor. So let's build that back. I don't know why I broke that. I was just not being careful enough. So what I could do is I could have the AND gate here, and that will move things out of the way. And I'm going to set this up like this, where I'm also going to line insulated tile up a little bit so I can raise the height of this facility and destroy this mini pump, because it's getting broken. Yeah, I should have figured that plastic mini pump was not going to fare well. So this here, don't build that. Alright, so automation wires. This cable can be broken down, but not the AND gate. And then the atmos sensor, I'm going to be moving eventually, so I'm not going to worry about this. So let's actually deconstruct this atmos sensor. And now I need to muster up 2 more Wheezeworts that I can use. And yes, I know, I'm very heavily reliant on Wheezeworts. I am aware of this fact. Alright, maybe not the desalinator. My coolant lines. Where is it nice and cool where I don't really need Wheezeworts? Well, up here, I guess, technically. I don't really mind if this gets a little hotter. Alright, taking a look at the automation wire. Yeah, so a lot of this is going to be a lot more simplified once I am done. The other issue is... Okay, let's actually raise these up again. Because I don't want, when they pass through this liquid lock, to disable the Weezeworts continually. That doesn't seem right either. And this auto sweeper just broke because it got too hot? Why did this get that hot? Well, I guess it's made of lead. But I'm not actually sure why it got that hot. Let me see. Yeah, I actually don't know at all. Well, okay then. Confused I am. So, we're gonna have ventilation. We'll stick it here. We're gonna really need to clean this up so that it starts to make more sense, because I know it's messy as heck. All right, mechanized airlock. Put it here. And I'm sure the printables, not printables, the steam engine, nope, still not full. Okay, good. I was a little worried that I had been ignoring it and it had filled up. So for the research, we are not that close to the to our next sort of milestone. What about furniture? We are okay. We're about 800 steel away. That's not too bad. Alright, so if I put the atmos sensor here, actually, that would be the easiest, shortest run, so let's do that. So atmos sensor made of lead, right here, automation wire to it, done. And then this should be powered up like that. Just trying to simplify this so it's easy to understand. So this here will get built. And this is all so that the this hydrogen is usable. Whatever we made out of plastic just turned to naphtha. I think that was the mini pump that once we deconstructed, the plastic never got moved and turned to naphtha. And the phosphorus as well, which is not great because that's a lot of phosphorus that I wouldn't necessarily want being destroyed. Oh, you are going to need to move up. Sorry, a lot of trial and error, mostly error. And then this needs to have power run to it, so let's do that as well. Alright. Getting closer, at least. Alright, what about that rocket? It's probably... it's not steamed up yet. Oh, yep, just hit steamed up. Wow, I have good timing. My bunker doors are closing, which means ink packs are coming, which means my astronaut's going to be waiting a minute. Not safe yet. Hello, little Drecklet. You don't belong there. Okay, so this little project is almost done. There's my atmos sensor. If above 6,000, we'll turn on. And then here is going to be my storage bin for phosphorite. And then over here is going to be my auto sweeper. We'll make this out of copper, because I think copper's gonna be fine in terms of temperature. Oh, you know what? It doesn't, this auto sweeper won't reach the rightmost. I will fix this. It's gonna be a little weird with these doors the way they are, but, you know, whatever. Just the way it's gonna have to be. Alright, so let's copy these settings and paste them in. So 4K of phosphorite. And be mining out all of the debris up here so that we can launch when we're ready. Actually, yeah, leave that. Well, no, that goes back. Sorry, I apologize, all this trial and error. I hadn't fully vetted this design, and as a result, there's a lot of sort of back and forth trial and error. One thing I might want to do is, I am getting some naphtha. I don't really want to keep it. Like, I just don't care about the naphtha so much, but I should have a place to bottle it. What I could do is bottle the naphtha somewhere where it might actually turn back to ice, or to plastic. So I'll just dump it in here where it's cold. I don't think the cold biome is ever going to get cold enough, honestly, to turn the naphtha back to plastic. But at least there's somewhere to put it so that it's just not sitting around in my base where I don't want it. Speaking of the base, looks like the base is getting some, a lot of the bluff briars are overheating. So it looks like base is getting a little warmer than I normally would want, but I'm not going to sweat that right now. Bigger fish to fry. Okay, come on, someone deliver these. You're killing me here. Alright, so if it's entombed, okay. Yep, there's a lot of mining to do before we can get out. Okay, we're just missing 400-ish steel. There we go, there we go. I do want to keep the Weezeworts in there for a bit. How's my hydrogen? So this coolant system is slowly heating up without the additional Weezeworts. That's something to be concerned about in the long run. Right now, it's okay. All right, so the pump. This was made of steel. I can reclaim the steel and put some other material like gold amalgam in. Should be fine. All right, then we're going to want to make sure the automation wires are set correctly. So up like that, and then the power is fine as well. Cool. So the last thing I do in this episode, ideally, will be to launch that rocket once again for a little bit more research, and to set this up so that it's all fine. All right, so now let's do if above 4,500. So we'll actually start tapping the hydrogen here. The one last thing, obviously, I'm going to need to add in is the sweeper. I guess... Oh, man, I really didn't... so if I rotate it, if I remove this ladder and stick the sweeper in here, it should be okay. One of the things I'm going to need to do is move the automation wire so it doesn't overlap where the sweeper's going to go. So it's not controlled that way. Okay, and then stick the sweeper in right here. Make it out of copper's fine, and then power it up with gold. And now it has as much cooling as the other geyser. And this other geyser seems, you know, the 4 Wheezeworts seem to be keeping up with the heat it outputs. So I think 3 or 4 might be the magic number, not the 2 that I had previously, which is just simply not enough. Okay, so this bottle emptier here, liquid naphtha. So we're just going to be dumping our naphtha, our accidental naphtha, stuff that I didn't mean to melt but did melt anyway. Looks like I missed my launch window, so let me try to get that back up and ready. So all the research I was able to do, we'd have to do 5 more of these launches. Launches back to previously known areas to get the solid material that we want. Maybe that's worth it. I haven't really thought about that too seriously. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. I'm not exactly sure. So probably next episode I'll be jumping into petroleum and oxalite-based propulsion instead, and just not do the cargo. But if I am jumping into different propulsion methods, what I think I'm going to need to do is to even increase the size of my launch bay, which, as you can see, there's really nowhere up too much further to go, but I'm going to probably go to the edge of the map. Okay, so building entombment. All right, let's get this launch going now. And that will be the end of this episode. This little extra long episode, like all the episodes have been a little extra long. All right, here he is. Pull the gantry. And launching the mission. So these are just purely diminishing return research missions and nothing else. Well, guys, that is all the time I have. I ran a little bit overtime to your benefit. So like I said, probably next episode, what I'm going to do is wait for this rocket to do a return, and then retool the rocket for petroleum, which means doing oxalite refinement. I might also add a refinery for the lumber to generate ethanol. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so very much for watching. I'll catch you next episode. Farewell, everybody.